last week, I have to do an audio check here, make sure everything's good. Audio should be, as far as I know. Let's see. Something happened here too. Okay. Yeah. There it is. Last week, I was watching the memorial for Charlie. And it was an emotional roller coaster, up and down, trying to hold it in. It was hard, and that's for me as a Canadian. I can imagine how our American friends are dealing with that. Another shooting today, and I think it was Wisconsin, wasn't it, or Minneapolis, or Minnesota, or something. Somebody went off the edge out down there, I guess, and shot up a church. And my stream says it's doing very poor. Not enough video. There it is. Anyways, we will work through it. 2 weeks ago, did the video, and a lot of it was on Charlie, and I got hit with there's a couple actually of copyrights, so they took the video down. One was the video of Charlie that was put out by I think it was Turning Point did it. I'm pretty sure it was Turning Point did it. The other one was the America, God Bless America, or whatever the name of that song is. What's the kids singing? That was another hit. So, anyways, it is what it is. I don't really care. And I put up what I want to put up. And that's YouTube, right? So, it is what it is, eh, folks? So, anyways, Trump, I watched it live when Trump was speaking at the UN, and I was just having a blast. He was letting it rip. He wasn't holding back. They froze the escalator on him. They shut the teleprompter off. And at one point, I think they turned his mic off. And, you know, that just stirs President Trump up, gets him activated, and he did not hold back. And I loved every minute of it. I missed the last half hour. I was recording it. And, yeah, I loved what he went through with on the climate, garbage, and on the, well, heck, just about everything the UN's been involved in. And he said how they didn't help the U.S. when he was trying to get peace between all these different countries, and the UN just wouldn't offer any help at all. I just look at notifications that were coming up there. Sorry, I got distracted. So anyways, yeah, he gave it to them, and it was great. Now I'm gonna see if I can bring some of that up too, a few minutes of it anyways. Carney was in the UK, and it was a disaster. Everywhere he goes is a disaster. I just seen tonight, or well, this afternoon, I guess it was here, they're saying there might be an election coming up, might be an election called, and they're thinking November. And I said 8 months, that's 7. So we'll see how close I was. Maybe it won't happen, maybe it will. Who knows? But I don't think we're ready. I mean, he's done a lot of damage, and he's going to do a lot more. Be nice to get him out before he starts having people going around knocking on people's doors to take their private property, their personal property, and before he starts locking people up for saying things on the internet that he doesn't like. So it's not what you call a citizen-friendly government. It's actually the opposite, isn't it? I'm going to switch over here. If I can bring this up. I just seen, before we start switching around on screens, I just seen Barron Trump played piano and sang a song for Charlie at the funeral. I was very impressed. Very impressed. So, well educated, good talent. He's one big fella. So anyways, he's in the Trump lineage. Probably going to be very well educated in the politics of the U.S. He probably already is. So maybe after J.D. does his 2 terms, which I think is going to happen. That'll really rock the boat up here. So, okay, where am I here? Stop babbling away and get down to it, eh? It is, I have to bring up my studio, and I'm going to switch over to another screen, and hopefully the audio works this time. If it doesn't, just let me know, and I will rectify that by doing my workaround again, okay? So, I'm going to deke out, and yeah, that's it. Okay. Change mics.
That into account, and we'll have a clear offering on them.
You mentioned both New York, London, every state, lots of business leaders and CEOs. For the most part, we know who those people are. Can you tell us who those people are? And will you commit to your office share who you meet with that business opportunity?
Yeah, I think we share broad. It's a good question. I actually don't know what we share, to be honest. I mean, how's that for an honest answer? We met today with a number of basically infrastructure type investors, and so people who have global capital and invest around the world, largely in infrastructure projects. And the sense that what I was looking for was partly obviously to tell the story of what we're doing in Canada, major projects, improving the tax system, moving forward fiscal responsibility, but also to hear from them perceptions of Canada, where they're investing elsewhere, what's driving their investment, what are the major themes, so that we're setting up the right partnerships for the country. I'll review our policy. I don't know what our exposure policy is, so thank you for that question. And
Okay, so the audio is low on that. And there's nothing I can do about it. That's the recording from CPAC. So he's basically said a lot of nothing. He was totally nothing. Nothing burger come out of that guy. So he even said it. Well, I don't know. I don't have an answer. That's a good question, but yeah, no answers. This is what we're stuck with for now. But I found this other site. I can't believe it. I'm going to show you some of the replies. This is a liberal site. I stumbled on it because of the the thumbnail and the headline on it. So I'm going to bring the video or the image up to show you. I'm not going to play it. I don't want to give them any views, right? So I'll bring it up. I'll go over some of the comments to show you what these... This is scary. When you look at it, there's 347,423 views. And it says, breaking news, Prime Minister Mark Carney held a fiery press conference in London, UK, and he did not hold back. That's what they called that, a fiery press conference. He stumbled through. It took him a long time to say, well, I don't have an answer. I don't know. So the other thing was, I seen down here, it was... where Carney shocked reporters with blunt answers. I really didn't see that as being a blunt answer. What I seen was a bunch of deer in the headlights, not really knowing what to say, no answer, just kind of, thank you for the good question. Now look at the comments. These comments. Another Aussie here. Glad you're proud of your Prime Minister. He's an example to the world. Yeah, he's an example of what you shouldn't have running a country. He is a gentleman and respectful leader, never criticizing other political leaders. Well, that's garbage. That's not true. Always going to direct question with a truthful answer. He doesn't give an answer. What is wrong with these people? When someone is asked a question and he returns an answer that is intelligent and straight to the point, means to me that he is a very truthful person. He hasn't told the truth yet. You Canadians have a prize in Prime Minister Carney. Elbows up, Canada. Your neighbor to the west, Alaska. Definitely a Democrat. Wonderful initiatives under Prime Minister Carney. There is no initiative. Stay strong, cousins. Greetings from Queensland, Australia. That's somebody that voted for the Labour Party in Australia. Such a calm, brilliant gentleman. Canada's lucky to have him from Australia. What I like about Carney is his humility and respect for others. Note that he never slams Trump or Polyev, right? When most people would. Never a negative word about anything. And for those conservatives who think that you can build Rome in one day, smoke another one. Canada is a peaceful country. Canada's falling apart. Whoever this is Catherine Hook. I had no idea, because she's a liberal. Man, what a difference. A leader who can actually answer questions and not ramble like some senile old man. He just rambled like a senile old man is what he did. A classy leader that is not an act. He's real and extremely competent. You are very lucky to have him. Well, if you like him that much, we'll give him to you. Wherever you're from, you can have him. Carney has a lot on his plate, yet he's able to address each question with details. Impressive. He is working hard for Canada. I'm so happy for Canadians. You have a very powerful leader. Elbows up. This man is classic high-level statesman. I like the way our Prime Minister is so articulate and direct in his responses. What are these people on? This is scary. We're talking about an election coming up. There's 2,200 comments on this. And they're all praising Carney. That's scary, folks. That's very scary. So, and the fact that that channel has 347,423 views. They have 40,000.9 subscribers. Over 40,000 subscribers to this Canada Today. So, yeah, it kind of freaked me out when I seen that. And I won't give them any views or likes. Now, I like this article here. Let me show you what this one is. This is coming up in Brazil. Trump officials urged to boycott UN climate summit COP30 in Brazil as Trump sees climate change as a con job. And it is. The groups argue U.S. participation in the UN climate change conference wastes taxpayer money and compromises national security. There's an excerpt here. It's not this long, not that long. A coalition of conservative energy and environmental groups are calling on leaders within the Trump administration to snub the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference in Brazil as President Donald Trump rails against climate change as the greatest con job ever. As President Trump rightly moves our nation away from climate alarmism, there is nothing to be gained from participating in an anti-American international effort that is designed to cripple the U.S. energy system and economy, compromise our national security, and steal from U.S. taxpayers under the guise of climate aid and/or reparations. A group of 7 conservative energy and environment groups wrote in a letter exclusively obtained by Fox News Digital on Friday. The UN Climate Change Conference is a yearly event that brings together leaders worldwide to map out and negotiate measures to limit climate change. The conference will be held in Brazil for 2025, running from November 10th to November 21st. The letter was addressed to Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, and Secretary of Energy Chris Wright. Signatories of the letter included the Energy and Environment Legal Institute, American Energy Institute, Heartland Institute, Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, Truth in Energy and Climate, CO2 Coalition, and American Lands Council. It's time America walked away from the UN's endless climate conferences, which have never improved the environment but have impoverished billions while enriching China. Jason Isaac, CEO of the American Energy Institute, told Fox News Digital of the letter. By refusing to send a delegation to COP30, the administration can send a clear message. America will no longer be a victim of the global climate hoax. Heartland Institute President James Taylor said the upcoming climate conference would only illustrate the hypocrisy of the self-appointed ruling class while they saturate the atmosphere with CO2 with their travels. The annual UN climate talks exist solely to saturate the atmosphere with CO2 from people congregating from all around the globe, give traveling perks to government bureaucrats and NGOs, and illustrate the hypocrisy of the self-appointed ruling class, Taylor said. By not sending an official U.S. delegation, President Trump would be doing more to reduce carbon dioxide emissions than all the participating nations combined. Steve Malloy, senior fellow at the Energy and Environment Legal Institute, told Fox Digital that Trump's comments this week show the U.S. does not need to deploy any officials to Brazil for the conference. President Trump this week called climate a hoax and a con job, Malloy said. He said countries embracing the green agenda were going to destroy themselves. He slammed the UN as ineffectual. So there's no need for anyone in the Trump administration to participate in the upcoming UN climate conference in Brazil. So, good for Trump. I wish we had somebody with a backbone here that would say the same thing. But for now we don't. And of course, that was from the Climate Depot. Good source of information. Now, if I go back to Canada, And this is from the Fraser Institute. This is a 2-minute read. Exaggerated, this is a good one too, folks. Exaggerated computer predictions of climate change promote overly stringent and economically damaging government policies in Canada. I'll show you what it is here. I'll bring that on too for you. Over the last 2 decades, Canadians have been subjected to ever greater regulation and taxation in the name of combating man-made climate change. The justification has been the claim that climate change is a severe threat to the well-being of Canadians as well as a rapidly growing global threat. This justification, in turn, is based on computerized models of the climate generated or relied upon by the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The preeminent voice on the issue of man-made climate change since its founding in 1988, these models assume that Earth's atmosphere is highly sensitive to and easily warmed by the addition of greenhouse gases from human activities such as energy use, manufacturing, agriculture, forestry, and essentially all industrial activities. They would want us to shut everything down. Except for themselves, of course, right? While the IPCC's estimate of climate sensitivity for a doubling of atmospheric CO2 levels over the near term is 1.8 degrees centigrade of warming, with a likely range of 1.4 to 2.2 centigrade, more empirically based estimates suggest that this transient climate sensitivity is around 1.2 and a likely range of 1.1 to 1.65 and possibly lower. A review of similar disjunctions between high sensitivity computer model projections of extreme weather stemming from man-made climate change and empirical measures of change to date also suggests that high estimations of climate sensitivity may be in error. These disjunctions have likely led governments to implement policies to suppress GHG emissions that are more stringent than necessary, imposing costs beyond likely attainable benefits, and imposing regulations on Canadians that grossly compromise their economic freedom and the benefits they would gain from a stronger, less regulated, and overtaxed Canadian economy. Well, yeah, exactly. A lot of us been saying this for a long time. It was so nice to see Trump get up there and say it's just the biggest con ever pulled on the citizens and peoples of the world. It's just been such a scam. How much money has Trudeau made off this? How much money is Carney making off it? Follow the money. How much is Carney giving away on us? Now this guy at, if I can find it, I'm just going to bring him up here a little bit farther. I don't want to listen to any more than we have to, right? It's just hard to see. These numbers are so small. Right there. I'll put this guy on again. The audio's a little low. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. Actually, I might do a workaround with my mic. It might be better. I'll try that.
Well, I made the point that the position of the current government of Israel, the government of Mr. Netanyahu, is that there will never be a Palestinian state. That is a quote. And his actions are consistent with that. It's been the position of every Canadian government since 1947 to support a two-state solution, consistent with the principles of the United Nations of self-determination. and human rights. Further, there will never be a durable peace for Israel unless those rights of self-determination are respected for the Palestinian people. And so a Palestinian state that's free and viable, living in peace and security side by side with the.
So he's on the Palestinian kick there, right? That they got to be side by side with Israel. Well, they just executed 3 people on camera. 3 of their prisoners. Right in the back of the head, eh? I can't see them living peacefully with Israel. Carney knows it. It's all about votes. He'd rather sacrifice people's lives to get votes and money. So he's very disgusting, and all these people praising him as being such a great leader and such a great politician, such a great guy. You know, where do they get their information? I just don't understand it. That's why we're in the mess we're in. If you want to just freak them out, all you got to do is say, Trump's doing a pretty good job down in the U.S. Well, they'll be banging their head on the wall and screaming and throwing fits, and then you can just stand back and laugh and walk away. About the only way to deal with these clowns. So that was his little bit of a rant on that, or is not really a rant. It was an answer to a question that you couldn't really hear. I'm going to move ahead again. I got 2 more little clips. They're only a minute long, so I'm going to have to try to use my mic to try to bring it up once I can find it. Try that.
Objective is going to be obviously the best deal for Canada, but also to get ourselves in a position where there aren't these specific issues, important issues that are erupting, on an episodic basis, if I can put it that way. Okay.
Good morning, Prime Minister. David Baxter with the Canadian Press. We do know cuts are coming in the November budget, and we've seen many countries starting to walk back their commitments to foreign aid spending, bringing that in significantly. Is Canada going to join those other countries in cutting foreign aid?
Well, we have budget on November 4th, as you know, and the decisions in the budget will come out on November 4th. So we're looking at a variety of things across all aspects of government. Part of my meetings in New York were with, obviously, the United Nations, so a variety of aspects of foreign aid, other aid partners that we work alongside, countries who are aid recipients in Africa particularly, and major philanthropies. And so if there's a common element to those discussions, is, as Canadians would expect, is how do we make our aid spending as effective as possible, have the maximum impact as possible, and that's related to the level, but I think fundamental to make sure that we're getting this right.
Time for one last question.
Okay. Great.
Paul Wally from the Globe and Mail. GS Starmer's introduced a digital ID card. Wants to make it mandatory as a way of controlling immigration. Is that something Canada might consider?
Well, Paul, one thing I would put in terms of context is the UK is relatively unique in not having other forms of identification. So there's been a long history here not to have ID. Canadians, we have various forms of ID. We have a driver's license. You have social insurance license. You have forms of identification. In terms of so now, are there merits to having common digital identification for government services, for you say immigration, also for financial services, portability, other aspects? There may be. We don't have current plans for that. Okay.
He didn't say no, did he? You know, he's all for that. So, buckle up. I don't know if we can get rid of them in an election. With all I see, channels like that one I just showed you has so many followers. And they swear he's just doing such a great job. So, and then I'd seen somewheres where they said that about cutting foreign aid. That was part of one of the questions there. Well, what I did, I went on X to Grok, and I asked for a list of countries and dollar amounts the Carney government has given since taking power. He hasn't. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, he hasn't been in only since the end of April, but March, I guess, is when he became leader. So, anyways, that the answer I got was major international aid and assistance commitments by the Carney government, March 2025 to September 2025. The Carney government, which took power in March 2025 following a Liberal landslide election. I think Grok's a little off on this. It's a minority government. I wouldn't call it a landslide. I guess it's a landslide compared to what Trudeau would have got. Has prioritized maintaining or slightly increasing foreign aid levels amid a trade war with the United States and global crises like the ongoing war in Ukraine. Total new commitments since taking office focus on humanitarian, development, and security assistance. That's kind of something we need in Canada, isn't it? With an emphasis on global challenges such as climate change, child nutrition, conflict zones. Based on official announcements, here's a list of key pledges by recipient country or region with dollar amounts in Canadian dollars. Note that some aid is multilateral or thematic, not always tied to a single country, but allocations are included where specified. Ongoing support for Ukraine builds on prior Liberal commitments, but includes new funding under Carney. So we'll start with Ukraine. $2 billion since he's been in, $2 billion. Military assistance, armored vehicles, drones, counter-drone technologies, ammunition, and equipment via NATO and joint production ventures. This brings Canada's total support since 2022 to nearly $22 billion. And that was in August of 2025. Well, then he skipped right up to September. The West Bank and Gaza, Palestinian territories, $47 million new funding. Total now exceeds $400 million to the West Bank and Gaza. Hamas, strengthening economic resilience, judicial systems. I don't know if you would call Sharia law a judicial system really, but I guess Carney would because, hey, Muslim values are Canadian values, right? Governance and democratization efforts, part of broader humanitarian response to the crisis. That was in September of 2025. That's this month. Global, multilateral, children's nutrition, climate change, and biodiversity, $207 million. New international assistance to address child malnutrition. Climate adaptation and biodiversity protection through UN and partner organizations. That was also in this month, September. Global, FinDev, Financial Development, Canada, I believe that is, $50 million annually, ongoing increase. Loans and support, loans and support to private companies in developing countries for sustainable development projects, SDGs. A platform pledge implemented May 2025. One of the first things he did after getting elected. Global LGBTQ plus and persecuted abroad. A couple of $1 million for them. Humanitarian and protection support for LGBTQ plus individuals facing persecution in various countries. It's a platform pledge implemented in May of 2025. The overall aid budget, government has pledged to maintain at least $800 million annually for humanitarian assistance, with no cuts to foreign aid or development financing. He just lied, folks, to that reporter when he was asked if he was going to cut foreign aid. Aligning with pre-election commitments. Total international assistance spending is projected at around $4.9 billion for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Down slightly from peaks under the prior administration due to fiscal pressures. I guess he's feeling a little bit of pressure. Focus areas. Aid emphasizes feminist international assistance, climate resilience, and support for Ukraine amid Russia's invasion. No major new bilateral aid to other specific countries, like Sub-Saharan Africa or Indo-Pacific. Well, he just mentioned Africa in that one of those questions. He used Africa as an example. Okay, none of that has been announced since March of 2025, though regional strategies from prior years continue. The sources, these figures are drawn from official Prime Minister's office releases and Global Affairs Canada updates. Military aid to Ukraine is classified as security assistance, but included here as it forms a significant portion of new giving under Carney. All amounts are in Canadian dollars, unless noted. Exchange rates approximately to the US dollar is $1 to 73 cents. So for every $1 in the US is 73 cents in Canada. We don't get a buck, we get 73 cents. So then you'll see Guilbeault. Guilbeault likes to get on there and say, oh, the tax cuts for the families, the conservatives just don't want to admit that we did these great tax cuts to everybody. They're saving money. And well, I thought I'd look into that too. See what AI Grok had to say. Didn't quite agree with Guilbeault, really. I mean, in a way, yeah. But it's liberal BS. List of tax decreases since Carney was elected. Major tax decreases or cuts implemented by the Carney government March 2025 to September 2025. Since Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal government took office following the April election 2025, it has prioritized tax relief to address affordability amid the U.S. trade war and inflation pressures. The focus has been on middle-class relief, housing incentives, and scrapping unpopular policies like the carbon tax. Well, he was pressured into that by the Conservatives, and it wasn't scrapped, it's still there. You gotta watch his AI. Below is a list of key tax decreases, including effective dates, estimated impacts, and details. All figures are in Canadian dollars. The tax decrease, elimination of the consumer carbon tax. See, it's not eliminated. The bill was not repealed. It's still there. April Fool's Day. See, it's a gag. It's a fool saying that it was eliminated. It's not. Removal of the federal carbon pricing on fuels rate reduced to zero, ending a policy criticized for driving up costs. Rebates for April were issued as planned. This is projected to lower gasoline prices by 17 cents, 17.6, which has been put back on with the clean fuel tax rate. That's per liter nationally, except Quebec, which uses its own system. Annual household savings estimated at $200 to $500, depending on fuel use and province. Well, you can scrap that $200 to $500 because of the clean fuel tax. So that's a nothing burger. Cancellation of capital gains tax inclusion rate increase. March 22nd, 2025. Reversal of the proposed hike from 50% to 66.67 on capital gains over 250,000, maintaining the status quo. Lifetime capital gains exemption retained at $1.20 or 1.25 million rather for small business, farm, and fishing property sales. This avoids an estimated 1,000 plus annual tax hit for many investors and businesses. Yeah, it doesn't really help the average person. GST rebate, the elimination for first-time home buyers. That's immediately, March 20th. Full GST rebate on newer, substantially renovated homes up to $1 million. Full rebate up to 50. People can't afford to be renovating homes up to $1 million. If they can afford to do that, they don't really need a break, I would say. This applies to first-time buyers to boost housing affordability. I don't get that. It's a partial rebate for homes 1 to 1.5 million. That's just, that's nothing. Middle-class personal income tax rate cut. Here we go. July 1st. Canada Day. Reduction of the federal rate on income up to $57,375 from 15% to 14%. Affects 22 million Canadians. This is the one that Guilbeault is always bragging about, eh? Anyways, effective a full year rate of 14.5%. Saves two income families up to $840 a year by 2026. Total cost to governments, $27 billion over 5 years. That's $70 a month. $70 a month for a couple. So for a single, it's $35 a month. So I don't know about you folks. I don't think I notice $35 a month with the price of everything. What are you going to do with $35? You can't go out the door. You better have another $65 with you to bring it up to $100 just because you're not going to get anything much for $35. You won't even need a bag. Those plastic bags that Trudeau banned that I miss so much, you don't need one anyways because you can carry it in both hands. $35 worth of anything. But they brag about it. They think that they're just doing, well, they know they're not, they know they're lying, but they carry on anyways. As of September 28th, there's no further tax cuts, no additional decreases. Unless the provinces do something, which they're not going to do, especially here it's a Liberal province, so they're not going to do anything. So anyways, that's kind of the lowdown on their oh, Mr. Speaker, the tax cuts we have given to Canadians are going to be so much better off now with our new tax cuts. And where's all the money going? They're filling their pockets. So, sharp. Gas is 133 here in Saskatchewan. You're doing pretty good. I don't know what we're at here, 142 or something. If you could knock 17 cents a litre off that, it wouldn't be too bad, would it? And if we could get our gas and oil fired up again, we could probably get back down to well under $1. I would say we should be down to 65 cents a litre, but I'd be okay with 75. That's still too much. So they're robbing us blind, and they're lying to us, and they won't let us develop our resources. Meanwhile, they're investing offshore. I wonder if Carney's actually swinging deals, or is he maybe just investing in some of these other countries when he's flying around with that, I was going to say skank. I'll be nice and I'll say wife of his. The funny dresser. The embarrassment to Canada. First it was Trudeau and Sophie embarrassed us with their dress-up costumes, and now it's Carney's wife. How can people say we're lucky to have him as a prime minister? That's what gets me. These Aussies must be completely gone, beyond saving. I know there's a lot of good Aussies, but those people on there, well, they're liberals, eh? I don't know. They got us in a bad spot. I know that. I did have this. I'll see how the audio is on this one. Okay, see if I can get the audio up on this one. I think it might be a little better. I'm not gonna, well, it's not that long. Looks like it's about 6 minutes long. We'll try it and see.
Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make the country great. The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic, so expensive to operate. And they have to be rebuilt all the time. They start to rust and rot. Most expensive energy ever conceived. It's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but they barely use them? You know, they use coal, they use gas, they use almost anything, but they don't like wind. They sure as hell like selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda. And I give a lot of credit to Germany. Germany was being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green, and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in, and they went back to where they were, with fossil fuel and with nuclear, which is good. It's now safe to do it properly. But they went back to where they were, and they opened up a lot of different plants, energy plants.
I'll try this. See if you can hear it.
And they're doing well. I give Germany a lot of credit for that. They've said this is a disaster what's happening. And we're going all green.
No, it's I don't know what's going on with the audio on that. So, anyways, that was just Trump's bit of his speech there that at the General Assembly on the on the climate. Hear somebody screaming and somebody laughing in the background. A lot of sour faces. Get rid of that. A lot of sour faces there. They nobody knew how to take it. They were all squirming. They were put on the spot. They're all guilty. So they're the leaders are disgusting. The U.S. is lucky to have the president they've got right now. He's cleaning house. The whole administration looks pretty good. And seems like JD's lining up to follow in suit. So Yeah. Now, what would happen here if there was an election called? I got to get your folks' opinions on this. What would happen here if we had an election? And so they drop the writ and they go into campaign mode real quick. Carney's going to try to beat up Trump to get or keep the votes he's got, which is probably not going to happen because the NDP is probably going to go back now that Singh is gone. But what would the Conservatives do? Are they going to denounce Trump? Are they going to say we need to work with the United States? Are they going to say no, or what? I don't know. I think it would. That's something we'd have to see. I would hope that Polyev would change enough, follow the tide of his supporters. So Marie, Carney majority, you're a real bearer of good news, aren't you? Libs, as Phil, Libs will cheat. Fred, and the Bloc will win on the government again. I'm not sure about the Bloc. They're untrustworthy. It's hard to say. You could be right. That's why I say kind of, I don't know. The Bloc lost seats to the Liberals. They'd probably want to get them back. So, but I don't know if anybody is ready. Anybody is ready for an election right now? You look at the polls. I hate looking at polls, but sure the Conservatives are up a bit, but a lot of these people, it's the devil you know. And the media is the big problem, is the media. They're starting to turn a little bit, but I don't know. I can't see it because I know a lot of their income's going to be depleted if the Liberals lose. So it's a hard call. Phil, simple Bloc wants to destroy Canada and Carney's their guy. Yeah, they want to destroy Canada. There's no doubt about that. And Carney is their guy. So I agree with you on that one. Yeah. What a mess we're in, eh? And then I see we've got Canada and U.S. get troops over in Poland now. And, we've got troops in Lithuania. They don't have any equipment. They're just over there. Maybe they're training with wooden rifles or something, like they did in the Second World War at the beginning, or I don't know. They got to buy their own food. They had no helmets. I'm surprised they had boots. But maybe the boots were worn out. Who knows? Because Trudeau didn't give any money to the military. So, Phil, when Alberta separates, Quebec loses 20 plus billion in federal transfer payments. So they love Carney. Yeah. Yeah. I think Carney's going to. If he goes in again, he's going to break up the country. So they lose their 20 billion. Let's see. So anyways, it's a hard one to call. That would be 7 months, probably 8 months by the time the election come around. That's what I was saying, but an election in December, Liberals getting kicked out would be a nice Christmas present. And Carney's only getting away with what God is allowing. Repent. Yeah. I don't know. I think of other times governments have shifted hard communist and how it's turned out. I mean, short on boxer shorts too. Oh, that's too bad. Did the NDP find another loser to lead them? I think right now it's still Don Davies in interim leader, but there was a lady who was going to run for them, I think. So yeah, they got to get a leader first. So they said they were going to go a year, wasn't it, for their leadership convention? A whole year? They got 7 MPs. It's going to take them a year to find a leader. Maybe nobody wants the job. Doesn't have a bright future anyways. Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah. So that's what happened last week. Like I said, I was watching the memorial for Charlie, and then the week before they took my video down. So it is what it is. That doesn't bother me. I see there's... No, I'm not going to go into that topic. It's about other channels. I never name other channels in a derogatory way. So I would not do that. So I can't even say anything because then it would seem like I was, and I don't want to do that. So I guess that is about all I had. So I will say, right on. Thank you very much for joining in. I hope we get some good news next week. Hang in there. I know I'm busy. So once the snow hits, I'll have more time on my hands. I'll be inside looking out. Sharp, good possibility that Carney will call an election while the NDP are leader. So that's a good point too. Really good point. So okay, folks. Thanks a lot. And next week, we'll see what I can come up with, scrape up. There's a lot of good channels out there, a lot of information getting around. Check them out. Moose is on every day, sometimes a couple times a day, and well, like I say, there's a lot of good channels. So check them all out, subscribe to them, stay caught up on your info. Okay, folks, take care. Bye for now. God bless.